It's 2026 and your motivation from the new year's gone, but it's not too late. Because in this episode of the Tony Bova Show, me being your host, Tony, I'm going to share with you this one skill that if you learn it, it will change the trajectory of your life.
The Tony Bova Show, built by pain, designed for freedom.
Now, if you're new to this show, I appreciate you being here, and I want to just encourage you to hit that subscribe button to listen along to these episodes for men that want to become the greatest versions of themselves. There's something inside of them that they can't quite explain. It feels like a few screws might be too tight or too loose, but they feel different than everybody else. But they know that there's more to life. There's more meaning. There's more impact. There's more things to overcome, and to become that great version, they want to continue to go down that growth pattern. Now, as I take you back in time, all of the times I've had to restart, reset, learn something new, whether it was in relationship, whether it was professionally, whether it was actually reshaping my mission, my vision, and my values, whether it was restarting that broken relationship over and over and over again, or learning new skills such as, I don't know, I wasn't a salesman before, but understanding how sales works and being able to get the right people the right things that they need, having to learn that skill and in a way that's not schemy and skymey like a used car salesman, where you actually can be trusted in the process of what you're providing is of value. Those things were so difficult for me to learn how to overcome them. But as I started to learn, even creating this video, if you were to look back at my first podcast that I actually never published, the version of that versus today is completely night and day difference. The confidence wasn't there. It was kind of put together in a way where I didn't really know where I was going. I didn't have the storyline down right, or which segments to put in terms of what value I was going to bring to you. But I started to realize something as I look back through my journey. You see, I figured out how to get a six-pack later in life. I never had one before. Most of my life I was overweight because once I hit puberty at 13, I put on these pounds that I was always chunky. But around 37, 38, I started implementing new techniques and things into my diet and my exercise routine and my mindset that shifted me out of that space where I lost 60 pounds and then actually had visible abs for the first time. I had a six-pack, which I was excited to finally share on the beach, where I wasn't uncomfortable in my own skin. Now, this episode is not around that specifically. It's not around fitness, but I want to use this as an example for you that it's never too late to start. That when you start to understand that the first part of getting over that lesson is starting now, being able to be okay with the uncomfortableness of it, that you don't have to worry about waiting, because when you start to wait, that's the thing that's holding you back the most. Because if you learn these 4 things I'm going to teach you about this one skill, then it's going to become easier and easier over time, because if you focus on these 4 things, then the other things start to get easier. Now, the first thing that I want to talk to you about is the subconscious brain. It's not wired for you to thrive. It's wired for you to survive. And so I want you to imagine it like a thermostat, that every time you get close to that goal that you want to hit, and then all of a sudden this thing shows up out of nowhere. It's not random. It's not bad luck. It's there as a test for you. And every time you meet a test, I want you to completely rewire your brain. I want you to take your mindset and reframe it into this different kind of program, where that's a test. I'm becoming aware of it. I'm going to figure out how to get over that test so that I can get to the other side of it. Because if you don't ever crack the thermostat, then you're never going to expand and become that version that you know you're capable of becoming. And then you're going to be left with regret. You're going to be left with that feeling and emotion of, I could have done more, I could have done better. It doesn't matter where you're at in your life, in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, or 50s, or even in your 60s. You can always restart, but you have to do it now. Now is the time to restart it. And then you have to start to understand these different principles. Now, you have to destroy, let me say it again, you have to destroy perfection. Because nothing is perfect. It's the most beautiful thing about humanity, is that I'm not a perfect being. And because I'm not perfect, I don't have to be held to a perfect standard. And we start to change how, well, I'm not as good as the other person. And I start to judge how much the progress I'm making throughout the duration of learning this new thing. You see, the perfection, it comes from looking at other people that have already done what I'm telling you right now. They started learning something in the darkness where people didn't see anything. Like if you're starting content creation for the first time, you're going to get a lot of hate because you're just starting and it's going to feel awkward and it's going to feel new. But the thing is, nobody's really watching because it hasn't gotten that reach yet. So it doesn't really matter that much. You got to get over the fact that I don't care what other people think of me. And that is true about everything that we do. We have to be willing to look like idiots in order to be skillful. The next thing I want to tell you about is you have to be completely unreasonable with your path forward. Now, you're going to have a lot of people that show up and they're going to be worried because they're rooted in this survival brain. They're rooted in the subconscious belief system not because they don't want you to succeed, because they actually do care about you. And because they've seen their life a certain way, they don't want you to make the same mistakes they've made. But here's the thing. It's a filter for them. And so you have to be unreasonable with your expectations of where you can go. It doesn't mean it has to happen perfectly. Actually, the messiness of it is actually the better path. And so the more you get comfortable with being messy in the beginning, I guarantee you things will start to dial in. But you have to be unreasonable because that unreasonableness is going to lead you into this next thing, which is the drive and the determination. Being able to overcome failure. You have to have drive and determination. And those are the only two things that are going to actually get you past the failure and shift what it actually means to you. When you shift what failure means to you, what you're doing is you're reforming the mindset around that. You're reprogramming how you're seeing the world and the filters you're seeing through it. Because that filter needs to be cracked in order for you to get past that limiting belief. And as you get past that limiting belief and you start to have that deeper sense of determination and that drive, failure starts to look like success to you because you start to understand, well, if I only fail this many number of times, then I'll get it right this other time. Because if you looked at failure as if I fail once, I'll never do it again. Like say you got your heart broken and you're like, oh, I'm never going to do that again because that hurt so bad. Yeah, I get it. It hurt. It's painful. But if you failed to never do that ever again, if you said, I'm not going to continue to figure out if I can find that truth. If I did that, I would have found Sabrina because I've been through heartbreak over heartbreak over heartbreak. But the one thing that saved me is that I know great love is out there. I know I'm capable of it and I know I can find it. And I was unreasonable when my friends and my family and anybody that I would talk to about, I know this is out there until I found coaches that believed in the same thing that I believed in because I saw it in their own relationship and that they taught me how to find it in myself. You see, you have to be unreasonable. You have to have determination. Those are the only things that are going to get you past the failure. But then once you see the failure as a filter, and then that helps you stand out, that when you are going to fail forward and you start to see that that's the thing that makes you the rarest because that skill of handling failure becomes the thing that nobody can touch. You cannot not be successful. It's almost impossible not to be. Because if you align your vision, your mission, and your values, if you align where you're going and you set for it and you're willing to pivot along the way, but you're able to break the filters that come up and you're able to go against the noise of everybody that says it's impossible to do that, then you can experience it. And I'm sharing this with you because I've experienced it. And I'm not telling you some fairy tale, but that you are fully capable in and of yourself. You already know. It's inside of you. You just have to find that path forward and get over the hurdles. Now, I thank you so much for listening to this episode. And if this brought value into your life, if you felt like this actually helped you and it shifted you, I want you to hit that subscribe button. And I want you to follow along to these episodes as I continue to pump out more and more content that's going to be super high value and super high vibration and super high energy. Because you have to start hitting different frequencies if you want to start living a different life. Thank you so much. I want to remind you, you're built by pain and you're designed for freedom.